That's how
I
we do
got
it anyways.
sirens in the background with Cyrus. Where are you, love?
Rio de Janeiro.
I need to put an air tag on you. And we're always trying to like coordinate time zones and stuff.
Mm. Yeah,
Love it.
sometimes on a
What's
call
going on
it's
in Rio?
sometimes I'm on a call it's three different time zones, to coordinate. Yeah, what's going on in Rio?
Hmm.
Right now, some jujitsu,
Cool.
some a little bit of Zouk, a lot of Shibari.
Yeah, okay. I definitely want to dive into all of those things. But what is, I don't even know what Zouk is.
Yeah. Yeah, Zouk is it's a partner dance. I
Oh,
I
that's fun.
first started to see it in like kind of like the contact improv type communities. Yeah, it was kind of flowy. I liked it. It looked like a mix of like tango and something else. Yeah, yeah, tango but flowy, right? It sounds weird. Um,
That sounds really cool. Can you like expand a little bit on contact improv, like what that is or what that looks like? Because I don't know. Like
contact.
improv, like funny improv.
Yeah, yeah.
In improv, it's like yes and, right?
That's a good question. Yeah, contact improv is,
Body to body.
yeah, like body to body. In a partner
Mm,
dance, there's like a clear leader and a clear
mm.
follower, like, masculine and feminine. And I know that can be a contentious topic nowadays. Yeah. So maybe the way to describe contact improv is a bit more non-binary, where
Mm,
the leader and follower is constantly shifting and um, yeah, there's a shift between like being a base and stable and allowing yourself to leave your feet and um,
mm.
leveraging yourself off the person's hips. And sometimes you take flight, and or
Cool.
sometimes you're on the ground and to
Are you,
sensual, yeah,
that's
whatever.
cool. Are your eyes open or closed?
My eyes are always closed, but yeah,
Okay.
probably the
Well,
average
you can do either
person.
way.
Yeah,
Okay.
the average person, their eyes are probably open.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I remember trying the Lottie Han stuff, and I feel like my eyes were closed for that, right? Like the blindfold kind
Yeah.
of like, is it kind of like the contact improv stuff?
I don't know if we touched on it in the last podcast, but that's how I got into contact improv.
Okay.
Was after Latihan, after Ista, led by Laurie, and it
Cool.
just and I was asking people like, how can I get more of this? And they were like, yeah, in a bit more normal, quote unquote setting.
Mhm.
It's contact improv, so that was my entry point into it.
I remember watching it at the Austin Tantra Festival. Well, I mean, because they're like, okay, you can, you know, do the activity, and
Mm,
then, but if you decide to take off your blindfold, then you're on the sidelines for the rest of the time.
mm,
And but I love doing both. I loved like being in the mix of it and like kind of guessing who, but also surrendering and like the play of the different energies and stuff like that. Like that was
mm,
really cool.
mm,
But then I also loved witnessing it and
mm,
observing it. And but that's probably just like the little voyeuristic part of me that enjoyed that too. So that's cool. So Lottie Han led you to Contact Improv to
mm,
Zouk, and I guess that's really cool. I've actually been wanting to dance more and look into different lessons. I'm
mm,
starting with line dancing, but this looks a lot sexier.
yeah,
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 yeah, that's cool. And you're doing lessons for Zouk in Brazil.
yeah. So yeah, how I decided to come to Brazil was I want to learn more about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Cool.
I wanted to learn more about Brazilian Zouk. So this form of Zouk was created here. Previously, it was called Lambada. So it kind of died away, and some people here picked it back up. They kind of use regular mute. There's no like specific music for it right now.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's retreats and immersions taught all around the world. It's actually less known in Brazil. They usually dance
Wow.
forró here, actually. But yeah, I said, so why don't I go to the place where these things are in like the DNA of the place?
Cool.
Is how I ended up here. Yeah.
Yeah, and how so tell me about like the little more of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
Um, like I guess you were experienced a little bit before you got to Brazil to take some of the lessons, or like was it
Mm.
like a fully immerse yourself, or
Yeah, I've had an interest for a bit. Yeah, like all over the place. When I was in Costa Rica for a little while, I started and I was hooked. Yeah, just finding more and more practices to be in my body
mm,
and almost like a controlled aggression,
mm,
a place to let out. Yeah, these things, in my opinion, are like made bad, and especially in masculine and a man. Like to say it right, male body, cisgendered male. It feels so healthy to move in this way. Yeah, to master this part of myself as
mm,
my warrior archetype, right?
mm,
Yeah, so I feel like I have a pretty decent warrior and feeling like it needed to be a further development. So on a deeper level, that's what it gives to me. I work out, you know, and it humbles you, like you exercise your warrior archetype, and at the same time you're humbled because after a while somebody puts you in the armbar or somebody puts you on a choke, and you have to tap. But yeah, then you give the guy like a five, and then you're back at it again, and such is
mm.
life.
Yeah. I think that's powerful. I mean, I think that speaks to like one, following curiosities
Mm.
and seeing like just or the things that light you up or like the little trails. And then the distinction about, yeah, things that'll like help you be in your body and express or like what, like let out anger or maybe something like that. I know that's what boxing does for me. Like I
Yeah.
love going to a boxing class and just like, especially if I feel like I need to like move some energy and hit something. I love that. I love boxing class. Um, and then I don't know. It's interesting that you also mentioned Shibari. Like I'm very curious about Shibari.
Mm.
I so what? And so are you doing lessons for that as well in Brazil or?
Yeah. And just one more thing about the
Yeah.
jujitsu, it's not an like.
Mm,
Actually, when I first went to learn, I'm trying not to get choked and trying to like, and you're just
mm,
kind of and there's this like anxiety and this like unstable energy. And some schools, they don't tell you. They just keep submitting you. They just keep submitting you, and they just keep submitting you. You don't learn anything. And some people can go 6 months to a year, just keep going, and then they just keep getting submitted until you learn to slow down,
mm.
and you either have the technique or you don't. Or sometimes you might allow yourself to be put in this a certain position, only to figure out a way to get out of it, right?
Mhm.
So yes, a controlled aggression to a degree, and a mastery, like a mastery of your warrior archetype, and a
Mm,
discipline, and a reverence, and a devotion. So it's not like you're just going in there, because if you do,
mhm.
especially as a white belt, 99% of the people in there,
They'll put you on your ass quick.
yeah, can break your arm, break your ankle, yeah, strangle you till you pass out. So it's like a devotion.
Cool. I like that distinction.
Mm.
Would you say that there's a power in knowing when to tap out too? Or like,
Yeah,
would you
so like
say that
even if you have a high
counts?
tolerance of pain and you think maybe you'll get out, and then all of a sudden, you're waking up because they're shaking your legs because the blood stopped going to your head.
What?
Yeah, or when to submit because you can keep going.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that's all I have for that part for now. Yeah.
I like that a lot. I don't know if I have any desire to go wrestle around, but I like the way you described like getting honing in or like on the your warrior archetype. That's
Mm.
cool.
Mm.
Or like the submission or knowing when to submit to. I don't know. I like just like that. And then, yeah. So let's expand on some shibari. Which I guess if you don't know what shibari is, how would you describe it? To
Yeah, it's Japanese rope bondage to one degree. It doesn't have to be, but like almost like a Japanese rope torture.
I'm looking at some images right now.
Yeah.
Some are very sexy. Some I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah. Um, I think
Yeah.
in the advertisement for one of the things I've put out, I think the tagline is like diving into the tension and tenderness.
Mm.
Yeah, the mix between the distinction between like what's pain and what's pleasure,
Mm.
the distinction of containment, being held, distinction of slowness,
To
some
me,
of
it
that.
looks like a good way to maybe work out some control issues.
Yeah, yes, and it
Because I'm
there's
like,
some.
I don't know. Like, there's an element of, I'm very curious. I'm like enticed. Like, I do want to try it. But there is an element where I'm like, I don't know about this looking hog tie thing.
Like a hog tie. From Texas. We know you from Texas. Ain't nobody hog tying me.
Maybe we'll just start with some arms. I still want to be able to run away, okay? That's part of my attachment style. No.
Yeah, where's the avoidant Shibari? Yeah. I guess the anxious attach is like, no, don't untie me. Don't let me go.
Yeah. Or don't leave me in the room alone.
I think there's like a connection between all three, like with the leading of the Zouk. I guess just it feels like it's all exercising my masculine or my
Hmm.
manhood, my ability to be present, my ability to be in integrity, and my ability to be a trustworthy man.
Mm.
Because within the dance, when you're leading, like even just the way you hold your hands, it's almost like you present yourself. And the woman chooses, and she chooses to like follow your lead, and you need to, and you send
Mm.
clear signals. But if you grab and you push and pull, and nobody's gonna want to dance with you, right? So
Yeah.
the same with the jujitsu, it's a martial art, right? So like the finesse and the discipline and the devotion, and you're still taking care of your partner because there's a time when you can put them in a submission, but you kind of slow down so that they feel it, and you give just
Mm.
enough, and then they tap. The same with with the shibari is somebody's offering, like you said, the trust. Somebody's surrendering their body to you,
Hmm.
um, in so many ways. So often before you start a session, there's a holding that takes place
Hmm.
to allow the person to melt and build some trust.
Mm. Okay. I was curious,
Uh,
like if there's like a conversation protocol, because if you know the person or not,
yeah,
or like, okay, so you do have some like contact a little bit before.
yeah, give me conversation beforehand, boundaries and consent, and
Hmm.
what a person wants to get out of a session. Um, and I guess I'm skipping that, and just within the practice. And again, it depends on what the objective is. There could be some that are more aggressive, some, but I'm in a space right now that is just more sensual and on the ground. So
Mm.
through my body, through my nervous system being regulated,
Mm.
that regulation, that co-regulation is transferring into
Mm.
the person who is choosing to surrender their body to me.
Mhm.
And as they relax into maybe a particular tie that I'm doing, or maybe just holding them.
Mm.
So again, for me, I'm putting myself through like my own personal workshop. It feels like my own personal development of like how can I show up better in the
Yeah.
in the masculine, and to have that trust to this body. Um, yeah, it's such a gift.
Mhm. That's really
Uh,
cool.
and it could be
So,
emotional from my side also, like
ooh. Oh,
uh,
really? Like to
uh,
witness it or to witness the surrendering or the
yeah, to
trust or
hold in that way, like just like
mm. Mhm.
yeah.
And to be trusted too and to yeah, I feel like that, well, you mentioned co-regulation of nervous system, but I feel like that maybe that trust is transferable a little bit too, or like maybe that feeling of it. or the emotion, some kind of soul tie? No, no, because well, I'm curious. There's a couple more questions, or at least one that I wrote down that I didn't want to forget. Have you been? What did you say? They're surrenderer tied up. How do you
Yeah.
like the?
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the language is like top or bottom. So the person that's the top is the person who's tying, who is holding containment, who is responsible for the bottom,
Hmm.
and the bottom is the one that is choosing to surrender to the top's leadership. But again, the top has the responsibility of taking care of the bottom in the way that whatever way it is that they agreed to. Um, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And so you've been on both sides.
Yes,
Okay.
I call it embodied empathy, right? Like,
Ooh, dang.
but in
Ooh,
BDSM talk, they would call it switch.
yeah. How cool.
But yeah, I call it embodied empathy.
That is an awesome term of phrase.
Uh,
Well, then all these modalities do seem like a way of, or a form of embodying some kind of, characteristic, trait, essence. Maybe that's that warrior archetype. Maybe it just feels like an honing, or like different modalities for embodiment too. Embodied empathy. I love
I feel
that.
like the warrior and the lovers in both, right? The warriors, maybe in the dance, the warrior's holding frame, but the lover has the finesse and can create an enjoyable dance. The same is within jiu-jitsu. The warrior, you're doing the workout or you're doing the drills and you're essentially fighting, right? But like lover in the sense that it's still your brother or your sister that you're
Hmm.
sparring with, that you're training with, that even though you're performing a move, you're still taking care. Um, yeah, and same with the Shibari. If you're all soft and over, like, too floppy, it
Hmm.
won't be enjoyable for the bottom. So you still need some, like, you still your aggression is still there, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
and I feel like with all those things too, it requires a certain level of presence.
yeah, it's
Like,
all
like
all
you have to be present. There is no ruminating or thinking and all that stuff too. Um, I'm curious, did we touch on how you discovered Shibari at all? I don't think so.
no, I don't think we did.
Okay, I'm curious. Yeah, let's expand if you're willing.
Shibari, so yeah, there's had been a curiosity for a while.
Hmm.
My initial curiosity started around Corona. I found my way to like one or two munches.
What?
A munch, a munch is
I know what I think of munching.
I was munching and then like yeah no. What if I tied her up? Yeah, a munch within the BDSM realm is uh, a meeting, like a vanilla meeting in
Mm,
an open space where you go and you meet community. It could be at a coffee shop, it could be at a thing, and you just meet each other and see how you feel. There's people that are in the community, people that are new and curious.
mm,
So but yeah, it was a challenge with Corona and the mask and not as many things going on.
mhm.
Um, and usually it's a slow process again of earning trust, and then you get invited
Yeah.
to things. So then I started to move around a bit. So I stopped that route. Still had the desire. Uh, then my most recent partner that I was with, we signed up for a private class in
Cool.
Amsterdam. Yeah, we both found a teacher. So we went to the one she found first, and yeah, we had a private lesson, and it was amazing. Bought some rope, but that relationship transitioned like right soon after that. Like, yeah, it was already kind of
Getting
turbulence,
tired
but
down.
yeah, thought the ropes would help, but yeah, she got away. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I've been traveling around. Realized I've been traveling around with this rope for like 10 months. So I bought 4 pieces of rope, and the rope's been in different countries. I've hung it so that I've been taking care of it. I like oiled it, like again,
Wow.
devotion, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, I make it to Rio. And then I start to reach out, and um, yeah, I find somebody to go into a deep dive with here. And
Cool.
I've been practicing pretty consistently. I actually just finished practicing minutes before we jumped
Cool.
on this call. Yeah, they're still here. So
Oh, cool. I love that.
uh,
No, okay. You mentioned a couple times BDSM. And
mm-hmm.
so Shibari doesn't have to be an element of BDSM, but it is an element of BDSM, which I guess if you don't know what BDSM stands for, bondage, discipline, dominant, submission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like
Masochism.
that. And submission and yes, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I missed a couple.
Yeah.
And apparently there's online kink tests that you can take if you're curious about what type. We can maybe expand on some quizzes later.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Yeah, no, I was curious about because, just mentioning it a couple times and then, how it relates to that world too.
Mm. Yeah, it's very much so in that world.
Mm,
It's
okay.
becoming a bit more mainstream now, but definitely within that realm. And just like anything, you can dive deeper. You can be a whole lifestyle that's associated with it, and partner dynamic.
Mm, yeah, necklaces and stuff. Oh, okay. And so I'm a little privy that you actually are now crafting a workshop or a retreat for Shibari, a
Mm,
Shibari focused retreat, which sounds super dope.
mm.
In January, did you lock down dates? I think I saw that you locked down dates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's locked down and it's started to launch.
cool.
Um, so again, this was something, I guess, just what's guiding me right at the moment is like, what do I want? And then make my best attempt to
Mm,
create it.
mm,
So before finding the mentor here, I was like, where's the next place I'm going? And the
mm-hmm,
next place I plan to be is in Costa Rica for a bit.
mm-hmm,
So for a while, I would just land somewhere and then try to figure out after that. Now I've been traveling so long, maybe like a year or two, where it's like, okay, I need to like a bit more foresight.
mm-hmm.
Too flowy is kind of, yeah,
Yeah, more
yeah,
intentionality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So with that, and the immersion will be in Nosara, Costa Rica, and I've spent quite a bit of time in that area, uh, and I haven't necessarily found somebody who like has a specialty in this.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, we have to bring it there. Yeah. So through that process, I found an amazing facilitator. Yeah, especially being in Europe, it's just
Mm-hmm.
Kati. Yeah, found an amazing facilitator. Her work looks amazing. Has a very good following also. And then with that, I said, okay, we need a facility, a space to match. So with that, yeah, I knew some people connected to a place called Tierra More in Costa Rica. It's a newer community that is innovative. Yeah, they bought some old cattle land where they're going to reforest it.
Mm,
They've already started to um, a food forest, investing millions of dollars into yeah. In a few years, there'll be a jungle there again with howler monkeys and snakes and birds, and so the mission is amazing. They already grow a good amount of beautiful food, and they have an open mind to invite this type of immersion. And yeah, it's a temple slash Shibari retreat. So it'll be 3 nights. And in temple culture, if people aren't familiar with temple, how to describe a temple? Yeah, a temple could be an evening where it's maybe tantra-esque.
Mhm.
and usually a beautiful environment, and there's connection exercises, and uh, on one end of the spectrum it could be just like sensual exercises for the night, and then you go home to the other to the other extreme as well,
To
where
the
people
extreme.
get to explore sexuality and sex. And part of the purpose of it, to explore sex and sexuality in this space, is to bring it out into the open, where many of us, if you even just take like, like masturbation as a kid, you had to like sneak
Mhm.
and
Hide
hide
it.
and nobody find
Yeah.
out, where
Or not talk
uh,
about it or
it, the thought or the belief or the paradigm is that it's sacred and normal at the same
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
and a relief of shame, and a
Mhm.
way to make community even more cohesive.
Mhm.
It's just another form of shining light on the quote
Mhm.
unquote dark. So what lights me up about this 3-night temple is just that it's not like a Shibari workshop where you just go into a yoga studio and you learn how to tie, and it's separate, or you go into a temple and it's like there's this atmosphere created, and that's one separate thing. But to bring them together, where you kind of have the mystery along with, I see the Shibari
Mhm.
as the devotion.
Mhm.
So when we talk about devotion, uh, I guess normal people talk would be like a routine
Mhm.
or an act of love, right? A routine that's an act of love. So
Mhm.
for me, the Shibari is the people who go through this container together will be a shared act of love, like
Mhm.
as a language, right? So these people will go through this immersion together, learning a common language
Mhm.
that ties them all together.
Oh,
Um,
cute.
and in essence, yeah, the partner that you're with. And this is an act of devotion that you can take with you outside of this immersion, and go as far with it as you like.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so there'll be actual instruction on how to tie, in addition to a big open space aftercare. Because I think part of the secret is the point of the tying. It's almost like the point of getting tied up is to get to the aftercare.
Mm.
And that's where everybody gets to drop in much deeper, either the bottom on their own or the top and the bottom, that connection. Just like, so to have that as a container, each night will get deeper, and on the final night there'll be a ceremony, and the healing that'll take place will be, yeah, through the modality of the rope, through the intimacy, through the connection, through like
Mhm.
that deep dive with an amazing facilitator, beautiful environment, beautiful food.
Mm. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Uh,
I have a question or curiosity around relating styles as it pertains to this. Like are you envisioning more solos coming to this like retreat or like couples or both? And then I also have a question like, can you practice this on yourself too?
yeah. So at the moment, what I envision is people pairing up and
Yeah.
potentially sticking with the same pair
Yeah.
for the whole
Cool.
3 nights. People that are local can go home and come back. We have an option for you to stay in Tierra More
Mm. Mm-hmm.
to help with your integration. So during the day, you could possibly practice or just be around the retreat center that has this beautiful, amazing maloka that they just built. Yeah. So yeah, you can come coupled. If you come coupled, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to dive deep. You can sign up as a single. The intention is for us to pair you up,
Yeah.
and the intention is for the people that are paired up to switch.
Mm.
So one will have some time as top
Mm-hmm.
and as bottom, again for that embodied empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Beautiful.
yeah. So
Can you give me
relationship style,
yeah.
that's on That's not a concern of yeah, it's
Well, I
anybody.
mean, well, just because I'm thinking about like if someone is like, "What is a temple? How does this even work?"
Eh,
If they have like no frame of reference whatsoever, and it's
mm,
like, okay, well, all relating styles are welcome. That's what I was kind of seeing to or get there. I saw that in like other temples where you could, you know, be partnered with somebody or explore it with multiple people, or if you just wanted to have that one, like to me, would you say deeper connection or
mm.
elongated connection maybe? And I'm also curious, like maybe an example or two of what the aftercare looks like.
Yeah, so just
Hmm.
in general, aftercare is, yeah, your body goes through an experience, right? Through the
Hmm.
Shibari. And yeah, with that heightened sensory experience, rather than just leave the person wide open, there's a coming back to yourself. Again, I use the word co-regulation and or regulation where you could bring somebody through this experience, through this arc, and if you were to just let them alone afterwards, could just drop.
Mm,
And an experience that may have been amazing or life changing,
mm,
now there's like almost a depression with it because your hormones
mhm,
drop, like all of it. So there's a support after going through an experience, yeah, to be held.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, to be held, plain and simple. As your hormones and everything else comes
Mhm,
back into regulation, maybe you might sleep, maybe, yeah. Um,
beautiful. No, I am also kind of. Do you have the dates for that?
yes, January 16th to the 18th.
Cool. Mark your calendars.
Yeah.
And I'm a little privy to your journey, and also you can always go back and listen to the first episode that Cyrus was on if you want to sample that, or like dive deeper into more of his story. But I know you've been on like this wild ride of like transformation and exploration and trainings and all this thing, like adding all these cool modalities and teachings into your tool belt. What are you gearing up for? What are you, well, also, I do want to speak into, I wrote down this note and I don't want to let it slide. I think it's super dope because I think they're related. How you have a desire and you're following it, and then you creating your own model of it. You're
Mm,
not really looking to see what others have done, but you're creating something new in several aspects. Whether it's this workshop, if you can't find what you're wanting or desiring, you're creating it, and then also your coaching program that's coming up, and then like the archetype quiz that I know that you created that we can expand on. So I just think that's super dope. And like what an awesome model to follow.
mm,
You can't find what you're looking for, create it.
mm. Yeah, sounds good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. Just some of the things that are going on. I'll be finishing up the field facilitator training
Hmm.
in a few weeks. That was a
Cool.
12-month long facilitator program connected to being trauma informed,
Hmm.
a lot about titration. People go to a thing to heal and to become better or to stabilize. And yeah, if in our workshop we destabilize them, hopefully it's on purpose, but and then to bring them back. But anyways, titration so that we don't make somebody has trauma,
Mm,
trying our best not to make it worse. Um,
mm, mhm.
so we have a festival in the UK near Glastonbury,
Oh, cool. Like
called
Babylon.
the Winter Gathering. So I'll be facilitating in a tripod within that festival. There's the likelihood our workshop will be actually today in our messaging. I think we'll call it the Temple of Surrender.
Ooh,
Has come up. Yeah, so temple, temple, temple keeps coming up. Surrender keeps
surrender.
coming up. Yeah. I've definitely had to do a lot of that. Yeah, life
Hmm.
life has been topping me. But
Mm.
anyways, yeah. Um,
Same.
what else did you mention? We're launching the Feral Fusion
Mhm.
coaching program, which will be me and another coach, Leah Piper, who's been in the industry for 20 years
Wow.
within sacred sexuality. And yeah, the potential client or participant, we've done some pilots.
Mhm.
We'll have the benefit of having both the masculine and the feminine.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have a coach and they like have the
Mhm.
to have both
Mhm.
we call it like power and vulnerability.
Mhm.
Um, to have it both at the same time, and sometimes within some of our calls, I've seen with Leah, like she'll have like a download almost of like the feminine,
Mm.
and the man will receive it, and I'm, because of the position I'm in, I'm able to see it and kind of like translate it to the man,
Mhm.
because sometimes it might be the way the feminine is showing up in his life, and it just comes through Leah, and then we're able to like look at it. Yeah, it's had an impact. We've also used the Pharaoh Soul archetype personality test within some of our sessions, which has just like Aaliyah's been in it for 20 years, and she's like, this is a powerful tool, you know?
Yeah, no, it's super dope.
Uh,
Kudos to you for creating it. And I took it. I'm a grounded nurturer primarily, which is interesting because like when you were giving some of them, I was like, my intuition kind of like did a little tickle around grounded nurture. Maybe it's also because I like the language of it.
mm,
Um, but yeah, so cool. How I guess I'm curious when the idea came for the quiz and then the following through of that. Like I would love to expand on like what it's kind of like based on too, or like factors that you consider to
mm.
formulate someone's archetype.
Yeah, so it seems like they were like, yeah, I've been taking the quizzes and I've been going to workshops, and it seemed like each thing would give a piece, and I wanted a more, when they use the word holistic, I always just think of like a hippie, but like a holistic, like I mean wholesome, like a more rounded
Mm-hmm.
picture.
Mm-hmm.
And even with some of the things that are out there, you'll take a test and you'll have this one thing, and then you identify, I believe,
Mm.
possibly over identify with this one
Mm-hmm.
thing where uh, there's more fluidity to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on where you are in your life, based
Oh, for
on
sure.
the other person you're connecting with. Yeah, so with some of the stuff that's already out there connected to like the Jungian archetypes, I developed this relational personality quiz.
Mhm.
The results in 12 archetypes. I'm not going to share them all here so that you can take the test.
Yeah.
And yeah, you figure out how in fact you find safety within connection.
Mm.
And again, the goal is to have more vibrant relationships, right? Because in
Mhm.
part how I got here was my primary relationship wasn't as yeah, there was something wrong and I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah, like connected.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So as I've been out here and experiencing some of the tools and some of the things,
Mhm.
as I'm still learning about myself, this is how I'm creating. So yeah. So when you're in connection, what does you need to do or ask for to feel safe
Mhm.
within that
Mhm.
connection? How is it that you actually connect? Like, and
Mhm.
if you know this, you can either ask for it, or when you're sorting through possible mates, like you already know.
Mhm.
So safety and connection. How do you actually connect? Yeah. How do you get aroused?
Mhm.
Yeah. A lot of these things happen by accident. And for some of us, some of the things that arouse us can be troublesome, right? So then it becomes a quote unquote toxic thing. But when you're aware of it and conscious of it, you can choose it. None of the things through the quiz is to find out something to be ashamed of. It's like, that's how I connect.
Mhm.
So let me be deliberate about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and then the last factor, four main factor is passion.
Mm,
how do you turn up or how do you turn down the volume and passion
mm,
and the connection? There's many people that are in maybe long-term relationships where the passion has subsided. And so, again, throwing out good or bad, what's the actual, what about you can make you more passionate about a
mm.
situation or a person or not? Or maybe there's too much passion where it's like, you're in this push and pull relationship and, you guys fight and then you have sex and
Chaos.
then like, yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's like, okay, we need to turn the passion down a little
Yeah,
bit
where
so
was
that
this in my
we can
early
function.
20s?
Yeah, yeah. So again, nothing is bad. Like I don't. There's no
Yeah.
toxic. There's no like. I think an example that I had gave before is like I'm gonna use something that's out there that may be that may be viewed as toxic as first, right?
Hmm.
Say a guy may, or there could be judgment against a woman that say they call her a gold digger, right? Say that they call her a gold digger. What else?
I just like support, guys. You're singling me out.
So she likes to receive gifts. Um,
Shows me you're thinking about me when we work together.
yeah, she requires a lot of attention from you to know that
No, I'm kidding.
yeah, but for some strange reason to really turn up the passion or get her aroused, yeah, she wants you to call her like you know, she probably wants you to call like a gold digging slut or something like that in the bedroom, but out during the day, but like she just you give the gift out of love and kindness and with everybody conscious of it. It's this is the way you show love to this woman.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with it. And once you own all parts of it, is like, okay,
Mm.
she requires to be taken care of. And if you're the type of man that can provide that, then you provide that.
Hmm.
You know that throughout the day she needs to hear from you. So
Mm.
instead of calling that some type of bad thing on how she attaches, it's just the way that
Hmm.
she needs to be loved. And
Hmm.
then and it becomes more stable if you give it to her. And then she needs to be humiliated at night, to be turned on. And so you give that to her, and it becomes maybe one of the strongest relationships these people ever had. But
Mm.
if they're unaware and believe in good and bad, then it's this toxic thing. She's
Yeah.
taking advantage of me and da 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 da, and then he probably gets mad at her and calls her these things at night, anyways. But like but
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
conscious.
Oh, the intentionality behind it. It's like one, I'm calling you these things to nurture you or to
Yeah.
support our relationship, and the other one is like I'm calling you these things to into like cut you down or make you feel bad or something like
Mm,
that. It sounds like it's an awesome way to like step out of judgment
mm,
and embrace all parts of oneself. Sounds like it also offers a lot of clarity and expansion,
mm.
possibly for
Yeah.
relationships. That's cool.
It's like it's all good. Like
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
all good once we have awareness. So this
Mhm.
quiz helps Lee and I coach clients because
Mhm.
it gives us these factors, and it's like, yeah, if we go out into the normal world and humiliation is supposed to be a bad thing. And again, I'm not saying everybody has humiliation in their archetype. It's just
Yeah,
this is
no.
the one I'm on right now.
Yeah.
And if and when they're able to embrace this, is probably one of the deepest relationships they've ever been in, deepest connections
Mhm.
they've ever been in. And it's a way to help people. We have so many ways to be ashamed of everything.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's been like such a taboo topic for so long, right? Our sexuality,
Mm,
right? Our aspects. So it's like, how can we release that? Step out of judgment, become more whole. I think. Well, I love what you're doing, dude. Is the quiz? Where can they find the quiz? Where can they find information on like the coaching container?
yeah, the quiz right now is given exclusively to clients.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, We'll post it on the website, which will be on the link below. Forget the name of my stuff. I want to say it's cyruswild.com, but yeah, yeah. You'll see in the link in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay. Note to self and my VA. Link, show notes. Beautiful.
Yeah. So right now it's part of the coaching container. Eventually be shared more
Mm-hmm. Widely.
widely. Yeah.
Yeah. Wildly and widely.
Yeah. And as people get curious, they take it and they want to dive in deeper.
Hmm.
Yeah, they'll be able to reach out to either just myself or jump into the Feral Fusion program, which we launched.
And
Uh,
that, just for clarity or distinction, is that okay, there's the two of y'all and then one person joins the two of y'all, or is it like a group container with the individual like sessions or spotlights? How does that work? Or is it still like unfolding?
it's a 2-on-1. It's a triad.
Okay. Well, I love that it's like a balanced perspective too. And offers multiple like language or resonance points or like possibilities,
Mhm.
lenses to look things at or look through.
Yeah, so
Cool.
through the
Anything?
through the coaching sessions, we'll potentially get to go through the four things that I mentioned with the arousal, the connection, safety and connection, the passion. Also, sometimes women will approach me. I'm just talking about me in particular about their femininity, and again, where everything is in so much flux right now, with being feminine, a masculine, a man, a woman, especially women who have been successful in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Almost want to get a gauge on their femininity. Sometimes they don't
Mm-hmm.
feel. Sometimes they have feelings around it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've worked with a couple of women individually based on that within the feral fusion. You'll be able to get the lens of
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So those four things: masculine, feminine, and in essence, it's all about power and vulnerability. Yeah,
Beautiful.
just as a random point, like
And there's so much power in vulnerability.
often the person who surrenders has the most power, right? Yeah, because ultimately
Are
it's the
you
bottom.
surrendering
It's the
more?
bottom that chooses. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, come to this workshop. Beautiful. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I feel like we've covered. I
I
feel
love
like we.
it. Cool. Check them out. CyrusWild.com. Cyrus Wild on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
It'll be in the
Cyrus
notes too.
Wild. Yeah, Cyrus Wild underscore on
Okay.
Instagram.
Okay.
Come sign up for Soul Ties in Costa Rica.
Yes. Love Costa
Come
Rica.
sign up for
One of my
Feral
favorite places.
Fusion. Come
Ooh,
January,
maybe I'll make a
February.
t-shirt. Maybe I make this a tax write-off. Come to Costa Rica, scope out if I want to do a writing workshop there, and get tied up and tie
Beautiful.
people up. Explore Shibari. Cool. I'm currently going to stop this now, but it's not letting me. So I don't know what that means. In session for all.